Good evening. You are live. It is Wednesday afternoon for a little bit of a change, or Wednesday evening, depending on where you are in the world. For my guest, it is more likely the afternoon. Xavier, how's it going?
I'm pretty good, man. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks very much. Today's show, guys, is a nice, easy one, a nice, chill one. There's no stats. There's no breaking news here. Unfortunately, we are just in no man's land. So we're going to talk about top 5 players, top players that most players that need to improve, and a little bit, I wouldn't say negatively, but just a bit like cautiously talk about what is the worst case scenario for this team going through to the next season. So we'll start with Xavier. What are the downsides to this team? Where could it all fall flat?
That's a good question. If I had to say the biggest possible downside, that would probably be Carson Wentz just not working out. Now, do I think that's the highest probability of where we could see a downside? No, not at all. I don't think that's. I wouldn't even say that's top 3 of possible downsides we could see going into 2021. But I think that would be the most pivotal. If Carson Wentz doesn't actually pan out when he comes over here, we could really see this team pretty much unravel, because with Phillip Rivers at the start, I felt like I could see some, frustration with the team. But as the season went on, once he found his groove and really got going around week 9, week 10, you can see this team really unify, come together, and get behind their leader in Phillip Rivers. Mm-hmm. And, whenever your leader is not playing at his best potential, and he's frustrated, the whole team's going to be frustrated. There's a lot of crutches he can rely on, our run game, our offensive line, stuff like that to get him going. But ultimately, if he can't get it going, this team could possibly fall apart.
Yeah, that is the be-all and end-all, really. So let's say we go into next season, and let's say week 2, Carson Wentz, touch wood, freak injury. Darius Leonard, touch wood, freak injury. The 2 main leaders of the team. What is the bottom, the worst record, or the best record you could see this team getting with key pieces missing?
It depends. It really depends. We do have a tough schedule next year. The worst I could see this team going would probably be like 9-8. 17-game season. Still kind of weird saying 9-8, but I really feel like we have a really high floor. Yeah. I think our ceiling kind of looks low right now, but I think our floor is very high. I think we have a lot of room for error just because of how many superstars we have. I think they're going to make up for a lot of things next season. But, with this great coaching staff we have and all the talent we got combined, I think we're going to really have no issue winning 9 games.
Yeah. I mean, it really does seem like Chris Ballard has built a team that has a contingency plan. So when it's gone wrong with Andrew Luck in the past, and, even Peyton Manning towards the end of his time at Indy, there was never a backup plan. There was never plan B, and Chris Ballard has built a team around the defense. So now that if Carson Wentz doesn't work out, or he does get injured, or something goes wrong, we've got the defense to fall back on to still be a good team. And I think that's what gives us a really high floor.
Yeah, absolutely. Just the amount of talent we have through this roster is just unbelievable, especially after this draft now with Kwity Paye coming in. Defensive line is as deep as any other defensive line in the league. It's just, there's so many things, like you said, that could go wrong And in my opinion, I feel like we could still succeed even with, you know, certain stuff hitting the wall. To say,
excuse me. Yeah, I mean, so to move on from that, I just recently caught up because I realised I missed one episode of With the Next Pick. Obviously, you'll know what that is. Everyone watching this probably know what that is, but for new people to the sport, With the Next Pick is a series made by the Indianapolis Colts where they go through, fair to say, the drafting process of a player and what it looks like in the war room on draft day. And it's actually really good insight to behind the scenes and all the work and preparation that goes into every prospect in the collegiate system. Real high praises for Deo Obadango. I'm going to learn how to pronounce it right. But for Deo, our second round pick. So much high praises. You know, Chris Ballard was saying if he was still if he didn't have his injury woes, he would have gone top 10. Like, I can't remember if it was top 10 or he said he was a number one defensive end. It might have been what he said. You know, just this second round pick is really an intriguing one because it feels like we're building we built an O line for the ages. And now Chris Ballard is building a D line for the ages. That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah, he's starting in the trenches and working his way out. I love it. Love every bit of it because, we were always this team that just kind of relied on our quarterback. You know, we had a generational quarterback 2 times in a row. Not many teams have experienced that. And, now we get a guy that comes in and looks around the league and sees who is successful and who isn't. And is kind of basing his plan off of other successful teams. And he's doing a great job of it. I mean, I don't think we talk about it a lot, but, how many people can draft 3 Hall of Famers, or at least 2? When you look at Darius Leonard, the best statistical start ever in a linebacker, in history, really, when it comes to tackles, his numbers in the box. And then you look at Quentin Nelson, who's had this, statistically, again, the best start to a guard in history. How many people can say they've done that in their first 3 years being a GM?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It really does. This team is just, it's stacked. It really is stacked. And when you look at, where we lost in the playoffs last season to Buffalo, and we feel like a better team now, even though before the draft, it seemed like we was going to be more of a transitional team. It seems like we've somehow improved. And I suppose with Carson Wentz, the main point is if he goes injured or goes down or whatever, or it doesn't work out, is Jacob Eason, Sam Erlinger talented enough to maybe not win us the Super Bowl, but could he drag us in? Could one of them drag us into the playoffs?
Yeah, that's a tough question. I want to believe Jacob Eason is that guy. I'm a huge Jacob Eason fanatic. I mean, of course, you probably know that. I give a lot of high praise around here, but if he was to go down, I do think we have the team around him to still make the playoffs. I think it would depend when he went down. If Wentz went down second week, you're throwing him into the frying pan there. Hopefully, he works out. Again, like you said, we do have 2 quarterbacks that can come in and play as well, Sam Erlinger and Eason. If Eason's not particularly working out, we can give Erlinger a try as well. Mix and match, try to find a working recipe. But to answer your question, I think that there's a strong possibility that one of those guys could get us at least to a wild card spot.
Yeah. To move on then, and to talk about, we'll start with who needs to improve. and sort of why they need to improve. I mean, we could sit here all day and talk about Rock Ya-Sin, Paris Campbell needing a breakout year because of injuries, etc., etc. But looking deeper into the roster, who are 5 guys who are really fighting for a shirt this year?
Yeah, I mean, I could probably give you more than 5, but 5 that I think right off the top of my head. Number 1 would have to be Rock Ya-Sin. Rock Ya-Sin he's been really wishy-washy. First year, we're like, wow, Rock Ya-Sin, what a great pick. Second year, not so much. Just the whole kind of the stigma around him is right now that he isn't good. That he could be so much better. Some people think he's a bust already. I'm on that train that thinks that he has a lot of potential. I love his physical traits. I love what he brings to the table. He just needs to put it into action. He needs to get comfortable out there and he needs to quit being so handsy and just play his technique, stick to his technique, and I think he'll be fine. But yeah, I think that if he don't work out this year, I think Chris Ballard's probably going to kick him to the side. You know how Ballard is. I wouldn't say he's ruthless. That's a pretty strong word to use for him, but I would say he is definitely firm about who he puts on his roster. If he can't have trust in you, if he don't have confidence that you're going to progress as a player, then he's going to put you to the side. And 2 straight down years after a good year is usually a barometer that Ballard's probably going to be done with you.
Yeah. I can agree with that. And I mean, apart from Rock Ya-Sin and who we know needs to improve, we'll leave Paris Campbell out because it's unfair to say that he needs to improve when it's been injuries what has kept him out of the game. But who's like on the line 2 to 5? I mean, sort of a couple of defensive end guys you could say are there. Maybe even Blankenship. He didn't have a flawless year. I love him, but he didn't have a flawless year. Or is there anyone who you think is overrated on this team?
Yeah, there's a few guys. Ben Bangu being one. Ballard drafted him. Eberflus really wouldn't play his guys. Eberflus stuck to playing, Houston, who is a multi-time Pro Bowler, over Bangu and Wilkerson. So them 2 guys right now are kind of on the chopping block, especially with the drafting of Kwity Paye and Doyle. They're really being looked at. They're really being looked at right now. One of them 2 guys are for sure gone. It just depends on who has the better year coming up while Dayo's injured. Because I truly believe that Dayo's not going to be a rotational piece. I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's going to be a starter for sure. And I think one of those guys are going to end up being the rotational piece. It's just who does better this year will be the person to stay, and the one who doesn't will go. Now, 4th, as much as it pains me to say it, excuse me, that's going to be Marlon Mack. Mack, as much as I love him, we got a very talented running back group in Hines and Jonathan Taylor, much more youthful, less Achilles injuries, of course. And, they just look like they got a little bit more juice than he does. That's just my opinion. And again, I love Mack. What he did as a 5th-round pick, comes in, runs for 1,000 yards, almost 1,100. Just does a fantastic job for the team whenever we're really in need of a guy to pick it up. And I can't be more thankful enough for that. But, he's really on the chopping block. He's really got to do something next year that's going to, pop eyes, turn heads if he really wants to stay on this team. And last but not least, this might sound a little crazy, but I kind of think T.Y. Hilton. As much as I think that T.Y. Hilton's play last year more correlated because our quarterback didn't really have the arm strength to get it down the field, If he comes out this year playing with a quarterback who has like a top 10 arm talent and can't get it done, unless it's like really visibly schematically, or unless it's really visibly the coach's fault, like he's not calling the right plays for him or something like that, then I think he's gone. I think Hilton's gone. Honestly, I didn't think, Ballard didn't even want to bring him back. It was a Irsay call. Irsay really made this happen. So, unless T.Y. Hilton can show out next year, probably go for 800 or 900 at least, I think he's probably going to be walking out the door as well.
To be honest, I think regardless of how good T.Y. Hilton's year is, he's going to be gone at the end of this year. Because if he doesn't perform, he's not on a contract and he won't get one elsewhere in the league. And if he does, have a T.Y. Hilton year, what we know he can have, 1,000+ yard year, he will be worth more than what we can give him. And that's just football. Obviously, it'd be sad to see him go, but he's been a faithful enough servant. He's played with some exceptional quarterbacks and some terrible quarterbacks. So fair play to him. He could have easily gone. Like you said, it was a Irsay decision, not Chris Ballard. And that sort of, it's no dig at Chris Ballard, but that sort of speaks for what the Colts are at the minute. And it's a somewhere where everyone wants to be. Everyone wants to ring chase, to say. And you look at the Colts train at the minute, and it is heading in the right direction. Now, I know a lot of people will come at me for saying this, especially thinking I'm just a bitter Colts fan. But the Titans are sort of where we are when we had Andrew Luck, right? They're sort of where we are with Derrick Henry, if that makes sense. So you've got this fantastic generational talent who can run through 7 brick walls and keep going. But, we had a fantastic quarterback who we tried putting through the ringer, and it left us high and dry. The teams like the Titans, who I could disrespect and say the rubbish, the trash, but they do have the pieces. But for me, it just seems like the Colts are built the right way, whereas if the Titans are not careful, it's going to go very wrong for them.
Yeah, I think the Titans are all in right now. That's what they've done. They went and got Julio. They drafted him a corner first round, and they're taking a gamble there as well. Like last year with Isaiah Wynn, they took a big gamble on him. Turned out he had just too many off the field problems to play for them. So their first round pick is gone. This year they take another guy in the first round that had multiple back surgeries during the offseason. There's no guarantee he even plays a down in football, first year, let alone in his career, there were neck surgeries. Sorry. He's just had a lot of issues. And as much as I like Farley, he's an exceptional athlete before the surgeries. He ran like a 4.3, 40-yard dash at 6'3", 210 pounds. So just an amazing athlete at the corner position, but, they're taking question marks. They're trying to ride on these question marks. It's already bit them in the ass one time. Will it happen again? We'll see. But they're all in. If it don't work this year, there's going to be a lot of dismantling of that roster because they're paying a lot of people right now.
Is it a case of God, I had it. It's gone. What was I going to say? I'll come back to it because I did have a decent point to bring up. That's going on. Anyway, moving on then. Top 5 favorite players or best players on this roster, on the Colts roster. I saw you tweeted out yours, which were, just want to remind everyone what they were.
So number 1, got to go Big Q. Number 2, Defoe. 3, what did I put there? Leonard, of course. There's Leonard. I'm saying. 4, I had Braden Smith, and 5, I had Kelly. I think that's how I went the list.
Okay.
So, the way I look at it, I look at who is dominating at their position the most. When I made that list, and no one in the league dominates like Quentin Nelson at the guard position, or even the tackle or center position. Just
no one.
No way. It's not even remotely close to anyone. People bring up Zach Martin or they bring up Wyatt Teller. Wyatt Teller, I wouldn't say comes close, but is the closest to dominating in the run game like Nelson does. But Nelson will go one-on-one, belly on belly, and move you 2.5, 3 yards and put you on the ground. Like that's almost unheard of in the National Football League at the guard position. But that's why I saw some people ranking DeForest Buckner above him.
Mm-hmm.
I think Zach Hicks did. And that's the reason why I swapped them two people because, don't get me wrong, DeForest Buckner was second-team All-Pro last year behind who's possibly the greatest player to ever grace the football field in Aaron Donald.
Mm-hmm.
He's an exceptional player as well. Don't get me wrong. DeForest Buckner dominates almost as much as Quentin Nelson does, but he just doesn't do it in the fashion and hasn't had the consistency that Nelson has had.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, we know the big matchup could be week 2, Aaron Donald and Quentin Nelson. But what impresses me about Quentin Nelson is I don't think he gives a shit about that matchup. And being brutally honest, he doesn't care if you're Aaron Donald or if you're the 5th string defensive end for the Jaguars or something. He's going to run over you no matter who you are. He's just got that winner attitude about him where he doesn't care who you are. He's going to win his battle. And if you do beat him, you might beat him once. He's going to come back twice as hard the next time.
Yeah, I agree with that. He talked about it before. He don't circle matchups. He goes week by week, does his film work, knows what he needs to do, goes into the game prepared. And he said he's just always looking to win. That's all he cares about is winning. He don't care about winning a matchup. He cares about winning a football game. And that's the number one thing I love about him.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so some people I would throw around your list. Mainly because the last time I left Kenny Moore off something, he got a bit upset. But no, Kenny Moore not on that list for you? Maybe top 10?
I would say he's number 6. I'd say he's definitely that honorable mention.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan Kelly just now making his first All-Pro appearance. I felt that was a little too disrespectful to leave him off. As hard as he's worked, he came in 2016 with let's just say a very lackluster culture and offensive lineman.
Mm-hmm.
And he really changed it around. He was that first change. You see him come in and he's working over and over and over. And then Quentin Nelson comes in. It's just a complete different ball game up front. So hats off to him. He got that big contract, getting his first All-Pro team. He's really, really put the work in and it's showing.
Yeah. I mean, there's loads of players. It's easy to put loads of good players on there when you've had a good year in football. I mean, one player that does interest me and I would say he's sort of in no man's land with terms of contracts, age, game time, is Jack Doyle. We know what Jack Doyle can do, and we know how well he can do it. He's a bit slept on in the league of tight ends, I would say. But because of that, where do we go with Jack Doyle? Because obviously we've got Mo Ali Cox, who I'm guessing wants more snaps this year, and he deserves them because he had a good year last year. So where does that leave good old Jack Doyle?
As long as Jack Doyle can still block, I would hope we'd bring him back because the dude can move people. He can move defensive end by himself. I've seen him block. I mean, last year I had a play highlighted in one of my film analysis of our game versus the Texans of him moving J.J. Watt one-on-one.
Yeah.
Doyle's that guy's physical specimen. I mean, he really is. He's super, super physical. He's looking for contact. That's just what he does. That's what he does. He's that guy. He's like a George Kittle without the speed and the route running. Like, he has a good set of hands. Don't get me wrong. He's reliable. He can take a hit. We all know that, even though he don't get the calls. But he's just an excellent, he's just an excellent player for our system. We need a guy like Jack Doyle. We need a guy that can get in there, be a bruiser in our power run scheme, and then come off the field when it's time for us to go, into our shotgun package and bring Mo Alley Cox in.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you could, you're running to, let's say, the left side, and your lead blockers are Quentin Nelson, Eric Fisher, and Jack Doyle. If you're not getting positive yards on that play, then I don't know why you shouldn't really be playing football, because, like you say, Jack Doyle is a fantastic run blocker. That's sort of a lost start in tight ends at the minute, with the league being more of a passing league nowadays. And he is just that extra security blanket, because he can, like you said, he's not a speed or route runner like Kelsey or Kittle, but he can make them 5-yard catches, and he can, go through people. Okay, captains next season. Usually teams have about 4 or 5, maybe 3 or 4 captains, depending on how they like to run it. Darius Leonard, Quentin Nelson, and maybe Carson Wentz.
Yeah, that sounds good. Quentin passed up on it last year. I kind of was mad about it, because I was like, Quentin Nelson's the best player on our team. Why isn't he a captain? I got a little backlash about that on Twitter, because people were like, "Oh, he's too young." I was like, he's too young, but he's a 2-time All-Pro and just dominating everyone he goes against.
Yeah.
I don't think youth is ever a barometer for if you're a captain or not. That's just my opinion. But yeah, I think you're spot on with that. I think Carson Wentz gets the captain spot. We've seen him dominate. We need to put him into the role. We need to let him know he's our guy. We want you to succeed. It's time for you to be captain. Just go ahead and give him the badge. Darius Leonard, I mean, that's a no-brainer, of course. Just the Energizer Bunny of the defense. He's out there every play yelling every single time.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there is a lot, we could really, at this point of the offseason, we could go into anyone, break them down bit by bit. But, we should talk about the positive things and what this team is. I mean, what is this team's identity? Because we are an exciting team, but if we don't learn how to control that, it could burn too quickly, too brightly, and we could find ourselves 3 years' time in a bad situation.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that what you're saying was my biggest gripe with having no quarterback or bringing Phillip Rivers in.
Mm-hmm.
We could try Phillip Rivers for a year, but we know he wasn't their Super Bowl recipe. That wasn't that.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think we got, with this current core right here, we probably got 3 to 5 years of high-level elite play out of our stars. That goes like, Ryan Kelly maybe. Ryan Kelly's that 3-year. But Braden Smith for sure 5+. Quentin Nelson 5+. Darius Leonard 5+. Julian Blackmon 5+. Kenny Moore 5+. That's if he stays. Keep in mind, that's if we get all these guys back. There's just so much talent on this roster. We just got to find that quarterback. And hopefully Carson Wentz is that guy.
Yeah, I mean, he can be that guy. We've seen him be that guy in a much worse team. A lot of people say the Eagles 2017 team was, is a great team, but I've looked back at it. It was an okay team. It just worked really well. Everything fell for him, and not many starting quarterbacks can say they've got the help that they've got, what Carson Wentz has at Indianapolis in Frank Reich, the O-line, the running backs, T.Y. Hilton, Mike Pittman, Jack Doyle, Marlon Mack, you'd look at every position, what I've just mentioned there, and every guy, I'd say, is a top 25, 50 player at least in their select position.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you couldn't. I mean, honestly, you couldn't look around the league and find a better young roster than ours. I think we have the most talented youth-filled roster in the league. I'm not saying the most talented. I'm just saying the most talented that is youthful. People we're going to have around for years to come. And like you said, I'm gonna bring up Doyle again. I love Jack Doyle. Dude is just exactly what you want in a tight end. But when you think of like the top 3 run blocking tight ends in the league, I mean Doyle might be number 1. People talk about George Kittle and all the blocks he does, and don't get me wrong, I put George Kittle at number 1 myself just because of how ferocious he is. I mean, the dude every single play acts like he's got something to prove when he's run blocking. It's kind of crazy. But Doyle gets pretty much the same consistent movement. And then there's another guy by the name of Nick Boyle that plays for the Ravens. That's very similar to Jack Doyle. Like they're like painstakingly like same size, same weight. The only difference between them is a D and a B in their last names. And they look just as similar, but I think guys like that around the league are not only underappreciated, but they're just positional value wise, they're just really, really underfunded. Like, having a guy like that on your team just makes your team either can take your team from a good run blocking team to a great run blocking team. Having a guy on that outside, that 6-man that can catch a pass, run a route and play action and move a 270-pound guy off the ball is just an incredible advantage in today's game.
Yeah. I want to talk about someone who may have gone a bit under the radar in the past draft. And that is Sean Davis, safety. I've been watching this guy, and I know it's just a highlight reel. So, disclaimer, I have only watched his highlights. I haven't watched full games of his. But this guy is like a Bob Sanders reincarnation, the way he plays. He is ferocious. And to think having him and Blackman, pairing up, it seems like we're gearing up to go to battle with the Titans. And we're gearing up to beat these teams that rely on the running backs because, let's not forget that the last time we played the Titans, Julian Blackman made Derrick Henry stop playing. Made him stop playing. Derrick Henry didn't want to play the fourth quarter. He still got like 100 yards, but no touchdowns. He can rush for 500 yards, but if he gets no touchdowns, he gets no touchdowns. And to bring another, I won't say undersized because he is Sean Davis is obviously a bit taller, I believe, but he's got that velocity and just absolute hitman power.
Yeah, it's something this team needs too. Darius Leonard can lay a hit on you just a little bit, but he's more of that, long arm, secure tackler guy. That's something I feel like this team's missing. You got a guy like DeForest Buckner that's, throwing people around in the trenches. We need someone in the secondary that's coming up and laying the boom on you. Yeah. And it's been, like you said, it's been a long time since we've seen that from a guy like Bob Sanders, just a guy that'll come down into the box and just take your helmet off if you give him a chance. And honestly, I really haven't got to see much film or watch any highlights of Sean Davis. I guess it's just been in the back of my mind. I don't know, waiting one day to watch it. But yeah, I mean, I guess I'm going to have to give him a watch. I didn't know he was a headhunter like that, so that's cool to hear.
I mean, that's what I think from him, just watching it purely from a naive point of view. obviously comparing someone to Bob Sanders is a big and massive comparison. That's just the potential I've seen in. I would say it was like somebody gave Malik Hooker the run stop ability. Is probably what he's closer to now. Is that he can make them ball hawk plays, but he is also good at rolling up the field and coming in for that run stop. But yeah, man, I hope this kid, you know, I hope we stick with him and he sticks with us because this kid.
Yeah,
I like what I see from him.
I'm going to take a look at his prospect profile. I mean, is he particularly big?
Not anything out of the unusual.
Okay. Yeah, he's 5'11", 205. I mean, that's good size.
Yeah.
It's at least the size you need to succeed at this level.
Mm-hmm.
No disrespect to Sean Davis. I just, I pretty much looked at everyone else but Sean Davis. Mostly because I couldn't actually find a real film of him.
Mm-hmm.
I could just find highlights, and I just usually don't like looking at that. But
yeah,
you
can't look at everyone.
Yeah.
You just can't look at everyone. It's impossible. I've tried.
Well, a lot of the film that you find, like I have to, like when I look for college prospects films, I have to get on Reddit and just find pirated versions. So I can't make videos with pirated film. Like I'd have to have permission from the school, and most of the time they don't email me back. I'm not cool enough yet. I guess I gotta have 1,000 subscribers, not 250.
We'll get there.
Yeah, eventually. It's just like it's funny because I was thinking about it. I'm like, why don't I just make a video using this? And then I realized, like, yeah, I'm probably gonna get a fat copyright strike right on my channel as soon as I do. So,
yeah, but he's a player I'm like excited to see. Sort of wrapping up the show now because we've nearly been going on 40 minutes. The last sort of piece of the Colts puzzle I want to talk about is this defensive line. And I really thought about it today. And when you break down the potential of this defensive line, we usually play a 4-3 in Eberfleece's system. That 4-3 being DeForest Buckner, Kwity Paye, Doyle, and maybe Grover Stewart, who had a monster year last year. Chris Ballard has done with the defensive end what he's done with the running backs. And he's made it, okay, maybe not the best talented room, but he's made it the best 1, 2, 3, 4 room.
Yeah, it's deepest.
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for.
Yeah, I think that I agree with you 100%. That's spot on. I feel like his kind of way he looks at building a roster is just perfect. Like, honestly, like I kind of thought differently until he took over as our team.
Mm-hmm.
With the certain things, I kind of like was more of the stack your star positions in free agency. Build to the draft. Hopefully you can find some gems, but he focuses really strictly on the draft, and he's built a fantastic team doing it. So I mean, again, once I've been proven wrong, I'm fine with that. I'll stick to your motto.
Yeah. Now it's going to get interesting, I would say, in the next 5 to 10 years, because obviously every single GM thinks they're doing it the right way. But as we've seen, just quickly, Mikey's watching. Nice to see you, Mikey. We are coming towards the end of the show, Mikey, but we'll keep it going just a little bit longer. Just a quick recap for you was talking about top 5 players on the team who you said, Xavier, were Nelson, Leonard. Nelson, DeForest Buckner, Leonard, and I can't remember the other 2 who you said.
So Nelson, Buckner, Leonard, then I said Braden Smith, and then Ryan Kelly. That was my top 5.
Yeah. We said Rock Ya-Sin needs to improve. That's nothing new. also a couple of others, even down to T.Y. Hilton, who needs to have a better year.
Yeah.
And we've also talked about certain pieces of the puzzle and how this Colts team is building. Okay, we might not win the Super Bowl every year, but we're building to be in the playoffs every year, which is realistically what we can be. But nice to see you again, Mikey. I was talking about Chris. Yeah, so the next 5 to 10 years is going to be interesting with Chris Ballard because, every GM thinks they're doing it right. But then when it comes to it, Chris Ballard has been voted the best GM in the league. So he's obviously doing it the right way. And I think his motto and his culture is going to be copy and pasted throughout the league.
Yeah, I think that GMs, I would hope so. I like this kind of traditional style GMing that he's doing.
Yeah.
The thing about it is, though, it's really hard to be successful doing it this way. I'll say that. I mean, how easy it is to find a Hall of Fame guy like Darius Leonard in the second round, or an all-pro level player like Braden Smith in the second round.
Yeah.
Or even all-pro in the first round and Quentin Nelson. I feel like Quentin Nelson was kind of can't miss, but still, the success he's had in the draft is it's unmatched. There's no one that's even touched him in the last 20 years, maybe even 40, honestly.
We got a question from Mikey. Before you go, do you think we're missing a proper standout star on offense? It would be easy to say, yeah, right? Not on the oil line. Yeah. But it would be easy to say, yeah, we are missing that Julio Jones. But the way we want to build, and especially contracts, and you look at the bigger picture coming into the next couple of years, we don't need that dead cap space. We don't need a 1-year free agent. We don't need a Golden Tate to come in and fix our problems because we're doing all right without them. And that would be my thought on it. What about you, Xavier?
Yeah, I think we're missing an alpha. I think he's right about it. I mean, to answer that question, I think we are absolutely missing somebody that will be the alpha. But another thing, we do have people that can be that guy. I mean, we got Pittman who can be that guy. We got Paris Campbell who could, be a T.Y. Hilton. We got T.Y. Hilton who can be T.Y. Hilton. We got people that can be the alpha. It's just, I feel like last year was just the COVID year. There's a lot of things that went wrong. We had a quarterback who barely throw the ball 50 yards. I know that's an exaggeration, but still yet, it's hard being a deep threat in a world where you have a quarterback that throws the least hardest out of all 32 starters in the league. I think we have potential, is what I'm saying. Let me put it all together. I think we have potential to have people be our alpha player, but I think as of right now, we are missing a guy that's going to step up and just be the alpha athlete of this team on offense.
That's fair enough. I quickly wanted to come back to what we were talking about, Chris Ballard, and you saying, it's not an easy way to succeed in the league. And it's not so much finding someone like Darius Leonard through the draft, but it's the balls to pick Darius Leonard in the second round when everyone had him going undrafted. He was the worst pick in the draft. Let's not let people forget that. He was the worst pick in the draft. And, it takes balls to really say, no, I'm picking this guy.
Yeah, it's crazy what Ballard sees compared to what we see. I didn't even know who Darius Leonard was when he selected him. I swear I didn't. I had not a clue who that guy was. And then he just comes out and he's the best linebacker in the league year one. First team All-Pro this year as well. I mean, it blows my mind every day thinking about it. I look at what, you could maybe think what Chris Ballard knows, but at the end of the day, you don't get a clue. You just don't. He sees so much more than you as scouts. Him and his scouts have perfect communication. It's just the perfect it's the perfect mix.
Anyway, I would like to thank Mikey for joining us right at the death of you and asking a question. It is nice having interaction. You know, just to finally end off then, it has been a solid graft. We've probably been doing this, probably about just a year now, Xavier, I'd say. Maybe a bit less.
Yeah, we're getting close.
Yeah. And, you know, we do like seeing interaction with fans, and we are slowly growing. And not just from a Colts point of view, from an NFL in general point of view, and that is nice. So if you know, just keep interacting, because believe it or not, we don't do this to make money or to get rich or to get famous or to be, going to Colts games for free in the press boxes and stuff like that. We do this because we just like talking football.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, nice to see you back in there, Mike.
Yeah. And go and check out Xavier's channel on YouTube, because, are we expecting your positional battles coming out again? Or is it film reviews?
Yeah. Probably going to do the top 3 position thing. Again, I got the film work done.
Yeah.
I got a couple videos recorded, but what I'm going to do July 5th, I'm going out of town for a little bit, probably a week. So I'm going to get all them made up, and then I'm going to pre-upload them and just release them like every 2 days. So hopefully that works out and I get back in the algorithm, and then when I come back, I got 1 million subscribers or something. But yeah, that's the plan so far.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been another great episode of the UK Colts Fan Podcast. We have been talking football, and especially Colts football, for 47 minutes now. I will see you all later. Goodbye.